As you can see, weather looming here over Miller Motorsports Park for the NASA National Championships. Hello, Ken Stout and Clark Camburn, ready to call all the action for you here as we enter a class that it's going to incorporate a number of different classes, SU, ST1, ST2. We'll also see PT class out there on the course as well, along with ASC. So a lot of fast vehicles out here, expensive vehicles. Should be an exciting race.
Yeah, absolutely. Super Unlimited is sort of NASA's catch-all for the big dogs, really, really fast cars, Super Touring 1 and 2. Super Touring 1, we're going to see Corvettes, Vipers, things like that. So should have some really good racing, some really quick stuff, kind of exotic stuff out there as well. So take a look at the grid here and see what's on the chart. In Super Unlimited, Bart Carter will start on the pole, Tom Barnard second, and Stephen Colruyt third.
In Super Touring 1, it'll be Thomas Glenn, Chad Nelson, and Mark Alger, who will start off in the top three.
Kenneth Smith will start on the pole, Ron Farmer second, and Bobby Fischer third in Super Touring 2.
All right, so we'll bring them back around here. They are coming through what they call Clubhouse Corner, then into wind up and release, and then of course they'll take the green flag. But as you mentioned before, I mean, some very big horsepower cars out here. The big dogs will be ready to play ball. We will see sub 2-second lap times out of some of these guys. I mean, straightaway speeds. As you take a look at that Radical there on the pole, I mean, without question, we'll exceed 160 miles an hour here in this race.
That's right, some very exciting machinery, and as we talked about, you can see that weather in the background. That could come into play if the rain comes out. These cars are going to be very, very difficult to drive, particularly because they're still in dry setups with dry tires.
Yeah, we actually have all four wets ready to go. They fan out here. This is the first group, the PTA group and American Sports Car. They will start in a second pack, but this is all the ST cars and SU cars.
So we can see that Radical of Bart Carter, that white car, he's breaking out into the lead. And then the orange Cobra, that's Tom Barnard. He's going to drop into, looks like third or fourth place as Thomas Glenn takes a peek into second with that bronze Viper.
And you can see that Radical. They handle so well. I mean, it's a motorcycle-powered car, extremely light, around 1,000 pounds or so, but talk about mad grip through these turns. And this particular track, of course, it's very conducive to that style of car.
That's right. I mean, the Radicals, it's a purpose-built race car, unlike a lot of these other cars. Very, very quick, fair amount of horsepower, but just unbelievable handling when you think about, 1,500 pounds, 2,000 pounds lighter than anything else out here. Big tires, big wings. So we certainly expect that vehicle to string out in front and pull away. Oh, looks like we have a car off somewhere towards the back.
Yeah, one of the Mazdas out there has struggled, so a mechanical failure there for him. Tough break, especially after all week long. I mean, keep in mind, again, these guys have been out here since Tuesday, setting up, Wednesday practicing, racing Thursday, Friday. There's a look at some of the American sports cars. A very cool pack, and their PTA was right behind them as well.
That's right. So looks like we're working around for the first lap, and not sure if that car that's off on the track, if that's going to create an issue or not. They may have to get a safety vehicle out on the track to pull him in. Meanwhile, we have a great race going on in Super Touring 1. The silver Corvette there is Aaron Fott and Thomas Glenn in that bronze Viper is just ahead. These guys have had great battles in the past and expect even more of that today.
Yeah, pulling right up beside him there, and we talked about expensive, fast cars. I mean, there's a pair of them right there that can flex some big-time muscle.
That's right, and it looks like we're going to full course caution, probably for that RX-7 that we'd noted earlier, so safety car is out on course. If it is just that one vehicle, I think, we may be able to get things going right away again, so hopefully we'll be able to get the track cleaned up and get things underway as quickly as possible as they pull that 00, I believe that's a PTA car, off.
And the 00, I mean, that style of rotary is actually a very, very big horsepower car. They run extremely well. I believe he's actually running an SU, as I recall. I thought it was an SU car.
He's actually ST2. Looks like it's John Van Kaneman, which is a RX-7. I believe that's a turbo car. So looks like they'll just pull him off to the side, and we'll be able to get going again.
So this will bunch them all back up, and take a look at that Radical. So he's going to have to deal with a big horsepower now coming down that straightaway again from the Viper, and the Corvette's back behind him. If they've got a shot to get around him, that's when it will happen.
Yeah, and certainly the I would say the Radical probably doesn't have quite as much top speed as that Viper. So you're right. If they are going to go around him, it will be on the start. And then it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for him to get back that lead, because we know he's going to be quicker, but he's going to be quicker in the corner. So he's going to have to get it done somewhere other than the straight line, if indeed he does have a little bit less straight line speed, as I think he might.
Yeah, we see some of these SU cars and talk about sub 2-second lap times. The American sports cars that are back behind these guys as well, also sub 2-second lap times. A very cool category. The cars are so durable, and while they weren't necessarily designed for it when they first came out, they have turned into some great road racing vehicles, and the class getting bigger and stronger all the time. But it's a great way to go really fast and still be very safe.
Yeah, those American stock cars, I mean, that's essentially a late model stock car that you would run normally on an oval. These guys, NASA's come out with this class. They run a spec sealed Chevy engine, so everybody is about the same horsepower. You can buy them from an online supplier. It's a crate engine bolted in the car, makes a bunch of horsepower, and the top two competitors in that class are, as you said, running sub 2-minute lap times. So just as quick as that Radical, and pretty neat cars to see rocket around. You kind of get that throaty
big,
roar.
Man. I mean,
that's right, they are, man.
Car.
Yeah, you don't realize quite how big those cars are until you see them next to some of these road race vehicles. So, and certainly, even though they started 30 seconds back, because of this caution, they've closed right up on that lead pack. So we may see them actually slicing through the field and potentially challenging for an overall victory.
If you thought you saw a Cadillac in there as well, you're not seeing things. You are. Bobby Fischer has a great-looking CTS that's tucked away that runs back in there in ST2. He'll have to deal with Ken Smith. By the way, the Midwest represented here pretty well with Robert Stout and PTA. Ken Smith coming out of the Great Lakes region as well. So there's going to be some guys in here from the Midwest region, Bobby Fischer with that Cadillac, that are very fast out here and hoping to bring some love back to the Midwest part of the country.
The lights are out on the pace car, so we will go green this lap. By the way, that orange car you see there, that Cobra, that is not a Factory 5 replica. That is actually one of the recommissioned 427s that was built recently from old parts by Carroll Shelby. So that is a genuine Cobra 427. Obviously, it's got lots of horsepower and maybe not so much handling with comparison to some of the newer vehicles, but he's running super unlimited, and you can see that thing stretching its legs as we go green.
Yeah, we saw him in practice, man. That car is bad fast. Like you said, it might not handle with these late model vehicles, but boy, does he have some horsepower under the hood.
That's right. Yeah, those things, it's got a big block in there, and they can make some very serious horsepower if they put their minds to it, especially with modern engine building techniques. But you can see, once he gets in the corners, he sort of backs off, drops back in, and that's going to allow Thomas Glenn and Aaron Fott to move back up into second and third, and they're in the lead overall in Super Touring 1.
Alger coming out of Flagstaff, Arizona, running in that Arizona region. Has some help from Napa Auto Parts.
That's right. That's that red Dodge Viper we're focusing on now. So Mark Alger will be in third place in Super Touring 1, just behind Fott and Thomas Glenn. Brett Carter still out front in that white Radical SRT 8. As we said, very quick purpose-built race car, and expect him to sort of pull away from the rest of these guys.
Yeah, if everything stays status quo, they'll have a hard time dealing with him there today. And the SU category, I mean, no telling what you might get inside of that thing. So there's some really quick cars that show up.
That's right. The U in SU stands for unlimited. So whatever you can cram in the back, you're welcome to do. I believe that's a Hayabusa engine that's been built out a little bit. Obviously, quite a bit of horsepower, and as we said, very light. And it looks like we're under caution again.
So a tough break, some more issues with somebody out on the track, and we'll see if we can find out what that is, get it all cleared up, and they'll get them all restarted one more time.
So, folks, we're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back with more Super Unlimited, Super Touring 1, and Super Touring 2 action. Stay tuned. The National Autosport Association, Super Touring 1, Super Touring 2 and Super Unlimited National Championship is brought to you by the competitors of Super Unlimited and Super Touring. And Toyo Tires, driven to perform.
Back here at Miller Motorsports Park for the NASA National Championships. The car's following back around here. And a look at the leader there in PTA, the red number 57 Pro Challenge car driven by Robert Stout. Having a good run out here this week. Has qualified number 1 in both qualifiers, won both qualifying races, and hoping he can carry that momentum on through this final event.
Now, Stout, that name sounds familiar, Ken. What's the relation there?
Yep, that would be my son that spends a lot of my money.
There you go.
He's done a great job coming out of the world of karting, ran with the Stars of Karting and WKA, so has a bunch of experience and has had a really good season so far this year, running in both the Midwest and Great Lakes regions, where he won both of those championships. So he's hoping to wrap up a solid season here. Here we go. Green flag's back out.
So green flag is out, and Bart Carter got a really poor start that time, little slow to get on the throttle, and that's going to allow Thomas Glenn to pull up alongside. We'll see if Glenn takes over the overall lead here.
Great battle, and the big car there is going to duck down low, try to hang on to the spot. The Radical's going to have to go to work. He's going to lose 2 there, and possibly 3 if he's not careful.
Yeah, being in that little car like Carter is, you get up alongside these big Vipers and Corvettes, and it can be a little bit intimidating, so I'm sure he's going to try and kind of tiptoe around those guys if he passes them again, and make sure that, they see him and that they don't turn into him, because that light little Radical like that, it could be, you definitely be on the losing end of any deal like that.
Yeah, and that's not unlike what my son is driving. Same thing. You have to be very careful. They have to know you're there, and because you're a car that can pass in the turns and maybe drive down underneath them, you're so much smaller, they just do not realize you're there. They'll chop you off and come across the front of the car, so you do have to be very careful.
So Thomas Glenn in the overall lead in that Viper. Glenn very quick. He's been a challenge a couple years before in the Super Touring 1 category. Actually came to blows with another competitor who is not here this weekend. A couple years ago they got together, and unfortunately both cars wrecked, so I think Glenn's looking for the opportunity to actually win one of these things. So Glenn out front, and Aaron Fott closing quickly. Fott in a Corvette C6. Also a very nice car, real fast. And Fott actually builds performance parts for these vets. So,
yeah, I don't think there's a Corvette out here that doesn't have his sticker on, his logo and his name on it, because he obviously built some great products.
Yeah, some very tricky. If you have a Corvette, man, that's the guy to call. He has some very trick products for that. I think he has a carbon fiber hood on this car, in fact. And you can see he's closing right up on Glenn. So I think we're going to have a good battle here.
And so far, the Radical not able to get back around these guys as of yet. Taking a look there, but he is hanging right in the neighborhood.
And this is what we talked about, that the Radical probably doesn't have quite as much top speed as these other 2 cars. Significantly less horsepower, a little bit less frontal area, but probably not enough less to overcome the horsepower disadvantage. So, he makes up his time in the corners on these guys, but that makes it a little bit more of a challenge to actually pass them.
Another big issue here with these guys is they have cars that are weighing in excess of 3,000 pounds as the tires coming in. The first lap, certainly not there, so the Radical will have an absolute advantage. So as those tires start to come in, they will close the gap a bit on that Radical. And now a nice pass there. Excellent job in the Corvette.
Yeah, Aaron Fott taking the lead. Nice outbraking maneuver on Glenn. Glenn gave him plenty of room, so see if Glenn tries to get this back, if Fott tries to be a little bit more defensive now, or if he can actually pull away. See Glenn's poking to the inside already, so Glenn isn't going to give anything up here, and we can see those clouds are looming.
Yeah, there was actually some spits out here on the track a little bit earlier in the race previous, so everybody's kind of hoping that the combination they've chosen, which obviously is slicks or DOT tires, some of them run, like in PTA we run a DOT tire, but it's all but a slick. Certainly not a rain tire, not worthy of rain racing. So everybody kind of hoping that the track will stay dry, and the conditions, as we mentioned before, on Sunday, drastically different than what we've seen all week long. Starting off on Tuesday, right up through Saturday, very hot out here. Not a whole lot of wind, exceeding 100 degrees on a regular basis. All of a sudden Sunday, the wind's blowing hard. People are making adjustments. You also mentioned before, rear gear part of that, tire pressure adjustments. The temperature much cooler out here. It's an entirely different day than what we've raced in all week long.
Absolutely, and you can see here Mark Alger's also closing up on Bart Carter. Alger has his lights on, so as the weather changes, it's starting to get darker. There's more and more cloud cover, and these guys, the ones that do have lights anyway, are turning those on simply because we're starting to lose some visibility.
Another great look at that orange Cobra out there doing a great job. Tom Bernard out of Las Vegas.
And Tom, that thing's got to be a lot of fun to drive. I mean, it looks like he just kind of drifts it around the corners. He's got so much horsepower. You just kind of slide it around. And he's starting to lose a little bit of time to that black Corvette coming up fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably as close to old school as you can get right there.
That's
Modern
right.
day horsepower and not quite the grip,
Yep.
so it's probably quite a handful.
Yeah, that's Brett Crosser is catching up on him now. So once again, checking in with the leaders. Here's Mark Alger again in that red Viper. Neat cars there. Those Vipers are very quick right out of the box. You don't have to do much to those to make them pretty serious race cars. Really the way they come from the factory, they're kind of untamed. I mean, you drive a Corvette and, it's got traction control and all kinds of little buttons and widgets to sort of make sure you don't make too many mistakes from the factory. And the Vipers don't do that so much. They just kind of give you a car with a big engine in it and, hand you the keys and say good luck and, we hope you don't wreck it. So
there's a good look at one of those American stock cars. That's Kyle Kelly, the number 66, out of Huntington Beach, California, and a car that has gotten underneath that 2-minute lap mark. And I'll tell you, man, these things, you can see it right there. I mean, it basically looks like an older version of the NASCARs.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. It's like an ASA late model, something like that. It's
Absolutely.
a fiberglass body car. It's got a small block V8 in it. Live rear axle, the whole 9 yards. So, the big key with those cars is that you can get a lot of speed for not a lot of money. We look at these Vipers, Corvettes, things like that. They might be $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 race cars, and those late models, you can get into a roller for $10,000, $12,000, and maybe a crate engine is another $6,000 or $7,000. So, pretty cheap to go very, very quick. And they've actually become the American stock car thing has become very popular, particularly on the West Coast with NASA. So, good to see a good field of those ASC cars here today. So, folks, we're going to take another quick break. Stay tuned. More great racing coming up right here, NASA Championships. The National Autosport Association, Super Touring 1, Super Touring 2, and Super Unlimited National Championship is brought to you by the competitors of Super Unlimited and Super Touring. And Toyo Tires, driven to perform.
Everybody having a great time out here at the NASA National Championships, Miller Motorsports Park. You're watching a great battle going on here in our ST classes and SU classes. Some very fast, expensive cars out here shredding some laps off.
And Aaron Fott has that lead in Super. He's got the overall lead, but he's also the leader in Super Touring 1. And you see Thomas Glenn is not letting him get away. Glenn is right there looking for a way by.
Aaron Fott in that silver Corvette, and as we mentioned before, builds a lot of performance parts and pieces for those cars. Everybody out here with him doing a little protecting right there, keeping an eye on the mirrors, and dives down low, does a good job of it. We'll find out how he exits here. Very good driver. You can see the lines that he's using, are all proper. He protects going in, lets it drift out coming off, using all the racetrack to try and keep that high horsepower Corvette hooked up.
Yeah, and this should be an interesting comparison between the Corvette and the Viper. Real similar in horsepower. I think the Viper has a little bit more torque. Not really sure where those two are as far as handling, but they seem pretty closely matched. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how these two sort of battle it out as the race goes on.
And kind of interesting, too, to see Bart Carter back there with that Radical. Has yet to even get up in the hunt with those two. is just happy to be where he's at right now, or maybe just doesn't have anything for him.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, when you look at the lap times, I'm not sure that Carter necessarily is that much quicker than these two cars. And certainly he has a good, solid lead in his class. Remember, he's in Super Unlimited. These two guys are in Super Touring 1. So, he may be satisfied just to sit back and sort of let them do their thing and try not to get in the middle of it, and just cruise around and cruise home, hopefully, to a victory in Super Unlimited.
Very impressive, and the sound of these cars is so sweet as they go by. Fought now. Going down to the bottom again to protect the inside. Here comes the Viper up on the outside, trying to put the big speed on him.
Certainly the Viper seems like it has a little bit longer legs. Still hasn't managed to get by. We can see a little bit farther back are those two ASC cars. Both of those cars doing very well and seem to be actually catching these two leaders. That's going to be Kyle Kelly and then Dustin Dudley as well in those ASC cars. So we may actually see them come up and make a three-way fight out of this before too long as Glenn looks again on the inside.
Whoa, way down deep, way low, trying to get the spot, and is going to get the position. Can he hang on to it is a question. Look at the acceleration off of that turn.
Man, that was beautifully executed. Glenn, I mean, sometimes when you go into a corner like that, the tendency is to try and get out as wide as he can. Glenn just sort of forgot all that, dove in as deep as he could, as low as he could, and it was almost a shock and awe move. I think Fott was sort of put offline and ended up having to back off, and Glenn gets the lead back.
And if you are going to make an aggressive move like that, you see him also combine that sometimes with a in real tight and then immediately up high to force the guy on the outside to check up, then cut it back down low and stand on the throttle. It creates a little bit of gap. So there's a lot of head games that goes on out here. It's not just driving and horsepower.
That's right, and these two guys, they're going tooth and nail. And we talked about this before. It's a long race. It's a 17-lap race. And, certainly, driver fatigue and mental fatigue can come into play here. It's a hot day. These guys are really focused. They're racing hard. And, when you have sort of a one-on-one battle like this that goes on for a long time, it's easy to get tired and start making mistakes.
You're going to get a look at a couple of those ASC cars you were talking about. Kelly and Dudley running about a second a lap quicker than the ST1 guys that are up there battling right now. So, yeah, Kelly and Dudley both ripping off lap times in the 1 minute 57 second range. Those things are absolutely flying.
Yeah, we're just sort of waiting here, watching some of these cars pass through. Here's that Cobra again, ahead of another ASC car as well. So I think we're going to see Bobby Fischer as well in that CTSV. That Cadillac we talked about earlier.
Also saw a blue Corvette coming around out of the final turn there. That is Ken Smith in the ST2 class. And Ken Smith, very, very talented driver, set multiple track records along the way throughout the 2009 season in his region.
And Ken, I believe, is leading the ST2 class right now. So good race for him, just ahead of Bobby Fischer in that CTSV Cadillac we were talking about.
Great look right there, and again, that looks like it's Manuel Gil Del Real and the 27 car, the ASC.
Manuel actually handles a lot of NASA's online offerings, handles their websites and things like that. So, been involved with NASA for a long time. He's also very involved with the ASC series, and obviously he's a pretty competitive driver here as well.
A little bit off the pace from the top two ASC guys, I mean, that are ripping off the 157 so far. Looks like he's in the 2 minute flat range, and it almost looks like the weather might be clearing up a little bit. Of course, it's coming from the west, so one side of the track's pretty dark, the other side's still looking okay. And this place is so big that it could actually be raining on one side of the track and not on the other.
Yeah, that's right, and certainly these guys, we talked about spotters before, they're going to be watching out for that. Their spotters may be watching the weather, just sort of keeping an eye on things, because as you said, sometimes it can be raining in a section of the track, and as a driver, you may not realize that, and you can get into a wet section without even realizing it's raining there. So, these guys, their spotters, will be kind of keeping an eye on the weather, keeping them apprised of the situation so that they'll know if they need to back off a little bit. And we should say, although these cars are not on wet tires, they're not really set up for the rain. If it does rain, they're going to keep racing. You got to just race through whatever weather throws at you. So you do need to be sort of mentally prepared for that possibility.
Absolutely. We rolled a pit car down there. We're certainly good to go back there in PTA. So, and if that happens, I mean, you can all but hang on to these things. If this track really were to get wet, the slicks that they have on them, I'm telling you, it's a handful, and you'll watch these big guys slow down dramatically.
Absolutely, yeah. When you have 500, 600, 700 horsepower, you certainly don't want to, you just barely tickle the throttle when it's raining like this. So, watching Brett Crosser, that black Corvette, and then we drop back to another ASC car.
It's just hard to believe when you take a look at how big those things are to understand how fast they go, but they handle so well. They work so properly, and started to mention it before we went to break, but those cars, make sure if you are interested in buying one of those cars, those stock cars, make sure you get one that is square, because they do a lot of things to them to get them to turn left.
That's right.
And you will be surprised at how hard it is to get it all out.
Yep, that is true. Yeah, they the oval track guys, they do some unusual setups. Since they don't have to turn right, they just got to go around left all the time. So, making one work on a road course is a challenge, but obviously you can do it because these things are all in the mail out here today.
The Pro Challenge car that we campaigned was the same way. It was an oval track car, and boy, I'll tell you, it's just amazing what those guys know and what they do. Very talented individuals when it comes to turning left. Great look here. As you can see, they are pressing forward, and a great battle going on.
And just behind these guys is that blue car you see back there. It kind of looks like an old Can-Am car. Here we go here. That's Stephen Colruyt. It's a car he built himself. It's called an ADR. It's Corvette powered. It's kind of an interesting car. There's no cowl around the engine. The engine's just open, but it's a mid-engine car, kind of a neat concept. So he's out here campaigning that car today, and certainly when it goes up the straightaway, you hear it. It makes a big rumble.
Yeah, he's another guy coming out of the Midwest, and we run with him a lot in the Great Lakes region, also Midwest regions, and it was kind of fun to watch him produce that car and come forward with that car, because he came out with an engine at it that was pretty docile. It didn't have a whole lot of horsepower as he was shaking the car down, and as the car's gotten better and better, of course he's putting more and more power in it. Actually had a pretty big off a little bit earlier in the season at a track there in the Midwest. We were all kind of scared as he went down out through the trees.
Yeah, man, you got to, especially when you get in these faster cars, a prototype style car. I mean, you're going pretty quick, and if you get off the track, bad things happen really fast at that speed. So,
and he's sitting right up there, so he can
that's
see
right.
it first. He is front and center in that car, man.
That's right.
There's that Cadillac we spoke of.
Yep, that's right. There's that Cadillac there. Bobby Fischer, currently second place in ST2. So Bobby having a good run just behind another ASC car.
Another quick look at the Radical, the SR8 we spoke of before. Bart Carter out of Henderson, Nevada. Leading in SU and not having any pressures on him right now.
Yeah, he's just driving around at this point. Drop back a little bit from the overall leaders, but that seems to be fine by him. He's satisfied to just cruise around, especially with no challenges for the overall lead. In the meantime, these ASC cars have gotten around Glenn and Aaron Fott, so they'll move into the overall lead of the race.
Just goes to show you, I mean, you're getting it done to get around those two guys.
Yeah, they're cooking, and obviously, these ASC cars, they have live axles. It's not an independent rear suspension like the Corvette, like the Viper. So pretty impressive there that the ASC cars have been able to take the lead overall, and so they're going to sort of set sail, I think, and have their own race. But in the meantime, we're going to keep following Glenn and Fott. Because I think with just
and we've got one looping it around.
Yeah, that was let's see, that was Dustin Dudley. Dustin Dudley, the lead in the ASC and overall. He spins going into Blackhawk, so that's going to hand the lead over to Kyle Kelly with just a few laps left. And I was just going to say, I think we might have some fireworks here between Fott and Thomas Glenn, because those guys are still very close with just a couple laps to go.
Yeah, well, and of course, the tensions heat up and the nerves heat up, and the finality of the event gets closer and closer. There's a look at Levas, who is second in the PTA category, chasing Robert Stout, a very, very fast, expensive, and beautiful car, the Porsche 997. And there's a look at Robert Stout, your leader in PTA.
And you see Stout has a nice, solid lead there, so hopefully we won't have any more cautions or anything like that to bunch things back up, but he seems to have things well in hand.
Pretty good lap time out of Stout. A 2:07 flat would actually put him in third place in the ST2 category, as it were to stand right there, a second off of Ken Smith and Bobby Fischer, but a good performance out of him as a white flag flies.
So white flag on the track, and Glenn is in the lead in ST1, kind of taking a look on the inside of that ASC car, trying to probably put, a car between him and Aaron Fobb, but it looks like that 66 is going to close the door. Kyle Kelly closing the door, and that's going to allow Fott to close back up on Glenn with 1 lap to go.
Kelly in that ASC car was a little bit quicker early on, but now it looks like it might have fallen off, and he is definitely becoming part of this mix. Oh, way out there in the dust and in the dirt. Oh, no! Both of the leaders in ST1 get together and get in trouble off the track.
Man, oh man, I thought we were going to have Fott go over there. He was way up in the air. Big hit for both of them. It looks like Glenn might be able to continue here. I think Fott is off to the right, probably stuck in the gravel trap. That was unbelievable.
And I got to tell you, there's Fott. I mean, he's done, buried there in the gravel trap. And Fott just got offline there and, was trying to save it. I don't think anybody did anything really malicious other than they were just racing so hard.
No, Glenn sort of got caught up behind Kyle Kelly, maybe got a little bit impatient, got out of that oil drive that's been laid down earlier in the day because of some debris and some oil in that corner, got out in that stuff, got off the track, and then the car hook came back on. The two of them got together really, really hard there. They're going well over 100 coming out of that corner. Big hit for both of them. And, I'm glad that it wasn't worse. It could have easily ended up being a barrel roll for that Corvette of Aaron Fott.
Your overall leader there, the 66 car of Kyle Kelly, trying to survive here on this last lap.
Man, oh man, and it looked like Glenn got going again. I'm not sure where he is on the racetrack, but I believe that's going to promote Mark Alger into the lead of ST1. So we'll watch here. He's in that red Viper. We'll see if he's coming around soon as Kyle Kelly crosses the checkered. Yeah, and there is Alger back there just coming onto the front straightaway, got his lights on. So Alger will take the victory in ST1.
Man, a lot of action there at the very end, and an ASC car and Kyle Kelly right there in the middle of all the action. Unfortunately for Glenn and Fott, who had gone at it the entire race, neither one of them will get the win.
Yeah, there's Fott there sitting in the sand trap. So disappointing finish for him. I know he was looking for more, probably hoping for a win. There's Glenn. It looks like Glenn wasn't able to continue either. So disappointment for both of those drivers. So
no
Brett Carter is going to come home with the win in Super Unlimited. Tom Barnard is going to finish second in that orange Cobra. Stephen Colruyt is going to finish third in the ADR. And Ted Barrett will finish fourth in Super Unlimited.
Mark Alger first in ST1, as you mentioned. Chad Nelson in second. Brent Crosser in third. Then it will be Aaron Fott in fourth. John George in fifth. And Thomas Glenn there will round out the field.
And Kenneth Smith will take home the win in Super Touring 2. Bobby Fischer will finish second. Tom Dragoon will finish third. Ed Nazarian fourth, and Ron Farmer will finish fifth in Super Touring 2.